What's up, guys? On this week's Nosebleed Radio, we dive right in and talk about the new Stanley Cup champs, the Washington Capitals. After that, we'll talk about the NBA Finals, how the Warriors have pretty much won the series already. MLB, I got a crazy story about how Babe Ruth actually has more home runs than he really has. We move on to the NFL, where we talk about Julian Edelman, OTAs, and the Eagles versus Trump, that saga there. And NCAA, a lot of college athletics going on right now, from college football, quarterbacks getting drafted in the MLB, to Super Regionals. So without further ado, let's roll the music.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please?
You're listening to Nosebleed Radio. Here's your host, Tucker Franklin.
Welcome to episode 18 of Nosebleed Radio. We don't have the full squad here, but I got Toby Todd.
What's up?
And Shane Miller.
Hey, how's it going, Roll Hawks?
KB couldn't be with us today. Had to take care of other matters. But we'll start off by talking about our famous number 18. Shane, you want to start us?
Yeah, since like you said, KB isn't here today, I figured I'd take over his number 18 from the Colts. Peyton Manning won the Colts a Super Bowl, and then he went off to Denver, and his defense won him a Super Bowl, so he's got 2 rings.
That's very true. Toby, who do you have?
I went football again. A.J. Green, wide receiver for the Bengals. He's a beast. He used to be a Georgia Bulldog. Everybody knows I'm a huge Dogs fan now. Not just because they made the national championship. You can ask Shane, picked him before the season. A.J. Green, that's my boy.
It's funny how the 2 football guys picked 2 football guys.
Hey.
Yeah, football outnumbers baseball today.
Yeah, football guys. I picked Jared Saltalamalakia. Fun fact about Jared Saltalamalakia. Do you know he has the longest last name ever to be printed on an MLB jersey?
No, but that makes sense.
What is it, 19 letters? Is that what it is?
Mm-hmm.
Well, just wait till he has a kid and he makes the MLB, but he's also named Jared. So then they add, the JR at the end. Now he's got the longest name.
Well, then you have to add in the space as a character, too.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And then he has a kid. He's the third. That's 3 dashes. That's the longest again.
That'd be Jared Saltalamalakia Jr. the third.
Jared Jr.
We'll go ahead and move on to our top story here. We're recording this late because we waited for this to get over to see what actually happened. And it's the Caps year, baby.
Caps damn year. Let's go! Let's go, Ovi! The one time I'll cheer for a Russian was tonight. That was awesome.
Oh, good point. I know that Shane and I are watching the game. Toby, did you happen to catch all the game?
I caught bits and pieces. I caught it up until the end.
What did you think of Ovechkin just overall this playoff series?
He showed incredible just willpower, I thought, this series. There were times where it seemed like he was literally willing the Caps to victories in the playoffs, especially against the Penguins. I felt that they won that series purely because Ovechkin was sick of me making fun of him for not having a cup. So he was like, God damn it, I'm beating the Penguins, we're going to the cup. Shane's going to stop making that stupid joke. And I'm pissed I can't say it anymore because that was a great joke. But I'm super stoked that he won a cup. It's great for him. It's great for hockey. It was just awesome all around. He was a fantastic leader for the Capitals.
That joke's officially retired now.
Officially retired. Put it hanging in the rafters.
R.I.P.
Yeah, this was an incredible playoff run by all of the Capitals, I felt. Evgeny Kuznetsov had an amazing playoffs. I think he ended up the overall points leader for the postseason. Ovechkin did his thing, not just scoring goals, but pure hustle, like Shane said. Mm-hmm. And then I wanted to give a big shout-out to a guy who was much maligned after his Game 1 performance against the Knights.
Yep.
That is Devontae Smith-Pelly. He gave away the puck that allowed the Knights to score the go-ahead goal in Game 1, with the only game the Capitals would go on to lose in this series. And he came back. He scored clutch goals in what felt like the rest of the games in this entire series. And so a story about redemption there for Smith Pelly, and just an overall great storyline for all of the NHL and pretty much anybody who's not a fan of the NHL outside of Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
And I guess at this point, great story for the NHL overall.
Well, did you see that he scored 7 goals in the entire regular season and then 7 goals in the postseason?
Yeah.
Talk about a clutch player.
Yeah, absolutely. And the goals, the timeliness of the goals too were just, I don't know what it is about some players who can only score when it matters most, but he seems to be one of those guys.
Apparently, yeah.
Yeah, it's unreal too. We talked about with Mikey how, what's his name? Sidney Crosby is really a grinder. And I think one of the big things in this series that I notice is how tough Alexander Ovechkin plays. Like, we watched him turn the puck over on the blue line, his own blue line, and then rush back and poke the puck away and not allow a shot on basically a 1-on-0. So I was really impressed with Ovechkin's play and how his hustle, and he's out here blocking shots too. Just defensively, he played really well this series.
You talk about a guy with grit. Alex Ovechkin is like the definition of a gritty hockey player.
Yeah, he is. Ovi may be up there, one of my favorite hockey players. PK is obviously number one. I don't know if you guys saw PK today on NHL and NBC doing the analytics, but he's
good.
He was
He's
good.
putting up big words.
Yeah, he was.
Big words.
I'm a big fan of PK,
It's always nice to see someone who plays professional sports be able to speak like intelligibly on TV.
Like Brian Scalabrine.
Like Charles Barkley.
Yeah.
Unlike
Charles Barkley.
Also, before we move on, shout out to Braden Holtby as well.
Oh, yeah.
Because for all intents and purposes in this series, he outplayed Marc-Andre Fleury, who I've been praising all postseason, so shout out Holtby for sure.
Yeah, Holtby is what they call him over in Washington. Was just a stud this series. He really went up against one of the greatest goalie performances with Marc-Andre Fleury. He had a really great postseason up to this finals, and he matched him. And I think you could say he was the best goaltender in this series.
Absolutely. Another story of resiliency, too. He didn't get the start game one against the Blue Jackets. Capitals lost that game.
Mm-hmm.
This is a guy who they didn't even know if he was going to be the goalie going forward in this postseason. He turns in a performance like he had the entire Stanley Cup, the entire playoffs. Just great stuff from Washington.
Shane, you have any final thoughts on the Stanley Cup?
I think there's going to be okay, let me rephrase this. I hope this turns into like a really great rivalry between the Knights and the Capitals, because obviously the Knights are going to have a huge chip on their shoulder for the Capitals going forward, because they wanted that story so bad. Their inaugural year to be the only team to go and win a Stanley Cup, their inaugural year, and now they can't do that anymore. So if I'm Marc-Andre Fleury, I hate the Capitals now. And I'm going to play, every time I play the Capitals, I'm going to play them like it's a Stanley Cup Finals, just to show that we should have beaten them, Because a lot of people had them beating the Capitals. I think I even had them beating them in like 6 or something like that. Mm-hmm. So if I'm the Knights, I'm pissed, and I'm making this a rivalry from here on out. So I'm excited to watch those games moving forward when those happen in the future.
They went from really being the underdogs all playoffs to being expected to win this finals series now,
They play better as underdogs.
Yeah, you'd have to think that.
Yeah.
We'll move on to the NBA Finals. Actually, fun fact for you guys. Game 3 was the first full NBA game I watched all season.
Really?
Yes, as the first full NBA game I had watched all season, and I was upset because it's just so stupid that the Warriors can just go and they can have Steph have a terrible game, Klay Thompson have a terrible game, they can have Sean Livingston show up. Well, he didn't really even show up, he was kind of hurt. But KD, You know, he does what LeBron has done all postseason, really, has a 40-point triple-double, and people are all over KD now, like LeBron hadn't been doing this all postseason.
Oh, I know.
I'm glad you made that point, because it seems like everybody comes out of the woodwork when KD has a great game and LeBron maybe doesn't score as many points as Kevin Durant. Everybody's like, well, maybe LeBron's not the best player in the world. So I did some digging last night because, as you guys know, I am a huge Warrior hater. So I was trying to find anything and everything that I could diss Kevin Durant about. Yesterday was his career high in the playoffs. All playoffs, his entire career, even when he was playing with just him and Westbrook in OKC. 43 is the most he's ever scored in a playoff game. It happened last night. LeBron James has 7 games just this postseason where he scored 44 or more, and an 8th game where he scored 43. Not to mention, the 51 that was scored in Game 1 was still not enough to beat this Warriors team because of the tremendous difference in talent between the guys KD's playing with and the guys LeBron's playing with. So when people watch these finals and they see the Warriors up 3-0, it would take somebody really, really uneducated to say, yeah, that's because they've got better players than LeBron James. It just, the most uneducated fans, probably in most sports, NBA fans for sure, which is a damn shame.
Mm.
What I also noticed from that is LeBron, people were saying, Bomani Jones is what I heard this on his new show High Noon on ESPN. He said that Kevin Durant did the same thing that LeBron did practically in Game 1, was had a triple-double with really no help. But he still won the game. But if you look at the help that Kevin Durant has when he doesn't have any help, it's better than the help that LeBron has when he has help. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And in Game 1, Cavaliers should have won that game hands down. They're the first time I've ever seen a call go to review, a block charge call, go to review, and it's overturned because of a judgment. That's never happened before, and it happens in Game 1 of the finals. That, first of all, that's suspicious. Second, J.R. Smith, the boneheaded play. George Hill should have made the free throw, and the Cavs win Game 1.
Yeah, he's what, an 85% free throw shooter?
Yeah, he's a very capable free throw shooter. Misses it, the biggest free throw of his entire career. There's not a whole lot to say about this finals because, I mean, it's the same narrative every year. People said the same thing last year, that, oh, maybe there is a changing of the guard in the NBA. Maybe Kevin Durant is catching up to LeBron James, which is simply not factual at all. You know, and I think it really speaks to Kevin Durant's decision again. The fact that Steph can throw in a clunker like that, an all-time terrible shooting performance by Steph Curry yesterday, can throw in a game like that, and the Warriors still beat a team in the NBA Finals. I think it just speaks volumes about the talent difference amongst teams in the NBA. So
yeah, I'm with you, man. It just Kieran and I talked about this today before we hopped on here, and he said that it's really because a lot of these teams in the NBA are in rebuilds, trying to catch up to the Warriors. And he said it's just because the Warriors have done the rebuild right. But I mean, in some ways they have, but in some ways they got lucky and got once-in-a-lifetime talent in Kevin Durant. But there's just something about the Warriors that have just ruined basketball for me. And the NBA, I think it's more the NBA than it is the Warriors, because it's just the same thing over and year. If you think about it, you've had the Warriors and Cavs the past 4 years, and these MLB has the Astros, the Royals, the Cubs winning championships, teams that haven't won in a long time. You just had the Caps win the Stanley Cup. You're coming off a back-to-back year where the Penguins won it, but the Caps just won it, a team that is made fun of constantly for not winning cups. You look over at the NFL. You just had a backup quarterback lead their team to a Super Bowl. I mean, all these leagues have disparity except the NBA, and it's not fun when there's no talent disparity.
To speak to that though, just for the NBA, like to speak for the NBA, the Warriors came from like garbage. Like they used to be terrible until they started getting really good. So I mean, what you can't really fault them for doing what they're doing because what they saw was, all right, we're terrible now, but we'll build the team up like you said, and they did the rebuild right, and they did get lucky, but they rebuilt their team to be like a dynasty team, and that I mean. What else can you ask from them? You know, that's not necessarily their fault that they're always in the championship. Like they said, the other team's got to get better at basketball. And talking about the NFL, I mean, the Patriots have been in like the last like 100 Super Bowls straight. So there's not as much disparity as you think in that sport either.
Well, the AFC really hasn't been very disparate. There's been the Steelers and there's been the Patriots, and the Ravens snuck in there one time, and it's been like, it comes out every Super Bowl like, oh, these 4 teams have been to the past 4 Super Bowls or past 10 Super Bowls for the AFC.
But I've got to disagree a little bit about the Warriors. It's not necessarily their fault, or I guess I don't disagree, but there are some factors that are pure luck. Because I go back to 2015 when the Warriors made their first run to the finals and they played the Cavs.
Mm-hmm.
That game 1 of that series goes to overtime. Kyrie Irving is hurt at the end of regulation. Kyrie Irving's out the entire series. Kevin Love was hurt the first round of that postseason series. The Cavaliers played the Celtics. Olynyk pulls Love's arm out of place. The Cavaliers play the Warriors, a team that clearly is talented, but they play them with just LeBron James.
Mm-hmm.
At finals, the Warriors win. You say, okay, Warriors are obviously a solid team. They still beat LeBron James, all that. Flash forward to the next year. They're down 3-1 in a series against the Oklahoma City Thunder with Kevin Durant on the team. That Thunder team just absolutely blows it. Klay Thompson goes for 47 in Game 6. Like, staves off elimination. Warriors go back to the finals where they end up blowing that 3-1 lead to Cleveland. Then the next year, this team that was a record-setting team, 73-9 record, went to the finals, overcame a 3-1 deficit, blew a 3-1 lead in the finals. They add the second-best player in the world. I mean, it's not the Warriors' fault that the NBA has become one of the more watered-down leagues based on product on the court. It's really all the decision made by the second best player in the world who said, I can't beat this team. And even if we did beat this team, I can't beat LeBron James by myself. So I'm going to go join this team who has beaten LeBron James so that I can take all this pressure off me, win a championship ring, and cement my place as an NBA champion. And that's what it comes down to. It was all Kevin Durant's decision. There's a lot of luck behind these, this run the Warriors have had. I don't think they're playing in the finals if Chris Paul's healthy. And I stick with that because Rockets were leading that series. Rockets were playing better basketball until Chris Paul got hurt at the end of Game 5, a game the Rockets ended up holding on to win to take a 3-2 lead in the series. So I think it's also the cockiness of the Warriors who are just saying these teams are worse. The league has to get better. You've gotten very, very fortunate. If I'm the rest of the Warriors players, if I'm Steph, Klay, Draymond, you've been very fortunate that you've had these guys come to your team, that other teams have had their superstars go down when they play you. So I don't think the NBA is as bad off as people say, but you definitely don't like to see the same teams in the finals 4 straight years.
Mm-hmm.
Now, before we move on from the NBA, I got a couple questions. One, I saw this question the other day pop up on social media. I don't remember where, but do you think these two, assuming the Warriors win, we're just going to assume the Warriors win this championship. Do you think these 2 championships that Durant wins, do you think they're a little watered down? Do you think they're not as good as like LeBron's championships are when it looked in terms of his legacy?
I think here you go, Toby.
I think they'll be watered down for now. But you look 20 years in the future, everybody's just going to say, that Warriors team was really good. Kevin Durant was on them. They won 2 championships. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of people forget that there are some really superstar-driven teams from the past. I mean, Magic Johnson played with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, James Worthy, Showtime Lakers, but nobody
Yeah.
says Magic Johnson's rings don't hold as much value.
Right.
But like it'll be the same thing with Kevin Durant and a few decades. Everybody will be like, yeah, Kevin Durant, those 2 rings were valid. He's a 2-time NBA champion or whatever. But looking at total legacy, Kevin Durant will never come close to what LeBron James has done because he joined this Warriors team. So, I mean, he kind of sacrificed his legacy as an individual player for championships. That's a decision he made, and that's one that he'll live with, and when the discussion for greatest of all time comes up.
No, I agree with you completely. When you talk about, does it mean any more, mean any less? At the end of the day, a ring's a ring. The guy's got 2 championships. No one can take that away from him. But in, let's say, 20 or 30 years, we talked about it last week. In 20 or 30 years, there's going to be a new guy they're comparing to LeBron James, saying, "Oh, is he the greatest of all time?" And Michael Jordan will be like Bill Russell, who's like, "Yeah, he won all those championships, but the league was easier and whatnot." I think Kevin Durant will be the new Kobe Bryant in that discussion, where people are like, "Yeah, he had those championships there. He was a super good player, but he's not the greatest of all time." He was on these superstar teams. He had a lot of help getting there. He left his old team to go win championships. So I think he's a champion. No one's ever going to take that away from him. But there's always going to be that but attached to it at the end. But he was on a superstar team. But he had a lot of help. Steph Curry was shooting lights out in the finals most of the time, except for last night. But it's never going to be exactly what he wants from it.
Yeah, I agree with both of you guys, but I think as of in the recent year, Toby said 20 years, and I almost think that might even be too long or too short for people to think that his championships are watered down. I know I'm not going to take him at face value right now. These 2 rings, I think they're cheap. I think they're really, like when you think about the Diamondbacks, if you move to baseball, the Diamondbacks, the Marlins, both of those teams have World Series rings, but they bought that World Series. They went out and got players to win just 1 World Series. Then they sold everybody off, and now look at those teams. But the Warriors aren't in that situation by any means, is what I'm saying. But
yeah,
I just don't think that these championships are worth as much face value in the short term.
That'll be something our generation always brings up. We'll argue with the younger generations in the future about who was good and who wasn't as good as they might think, but that's just something I think we'll always remember. But in 10 years or so, I don't know if everyone will remember that.
Yep.
I want to end with this: JaVale McGee is about to win his 2nd ring as an NBA player.
Yeah.
Swaggy Pete is about to be an NBA champion. You can take rings and you can say, "All right, here's what I have. These are the rings I've won." But, I think that's only a small part of the discussion when you talk about all-time greats, which Kevin Durant will be talked about as one because of his basketball ability, because of how good he is. But just remember that Allen Iverson did not win a ring. Nick Young is about to have a ring, so I take that for what it's worth.
Garbage. Yeah. I did, before we move on to the MLB, I did see a tweet that said the only thing that'll get the ratings up for the Game 4 of the NBA Finals are if LeBron tells us where he's going to go next year.
Ooh, like the decision part 2, right after the game.
Yeah, or at halftime.
Yeah, that'd be wild if they, came back from some huge halftime deficit, and then all of his teammates are looking at him at Game 5 like...
That'd be awkward.
What are they going to do? They can't not pass to him.
yeah, they want to win a ring themselves.
We'll move on to the MLB. Max Scherzer had himself one heck of a game on Tuesday night. Struck out 13. That guy's Mizzou made. People sometimes forget that. M-I-Z, baby. What do you think about the Mad Max?
I feel like he probably just got randomly selected to be drug tested for steroids because he struck out 3 batters on 9 pitches in 1 inning. Yeah. That's unreal. Unreal talent from this guy.
Pretty solid guy. He's a pretty solid pitcher. And I think I was texting you actually during the MLB draft, Shane, and I said, I just hope one of these guys that we drafted, Singer, Jackson, Cower, either of them become just a little bit of Max Scherzer.
Yeah, I mean, if we could just get a little bit of what he's doing down there, I'd be stoked because that dude is a wizard.
Be all right with it. I don't know if you guys saw this, but I was on the old Twitter machine today, and the MLB tweeted out this article. Did Babe Ruth actually hit 715 home runs? Oh, that piqued my interest. As everybody knows, Babe Ruth hit 714, you know.
Yeah.
That was one of those numbers that you knew, well, especially when Hank Aaron was chasing Babe Ruth, that was the number he had to get to, was 715 to pass him. But there was a time where they didn't really keep baseball statistics all that well. And a guy came up to the MLB commissioner at the time and said, "Hey, I wanna make an encyclopedia of every stat, of all the stats. Keep a record book of all the stats," which we now know is just common now. You go to Baseball Encyclopedia, you can go to all these sports references, and one person quoted it in saying, "It's large for a book, small for an amusement park." When he ended up putting it together in 1969, it was 2,338 pages, 6.5 pounds.
Good Lord.
Called it the Baseball Encyclopedia. We're not book guys here. Probably wouldn't have read it.
Not. I still wouldn't. Like, there's no way. It's too big of a book.
The tricky thing about trying to compile all those stats was stats were taken differently back in the late 1800s. You know, in 1887, they still recorded a walk as a hit. So you had
the Civil War just ended.
Right. You know, any way to get on base, you consider that a hit. Sometimes if you got hit by a pitch, you just stay in the box. It would also
They cut off your arm because they don't know how to amputate.
Exactly.
The 1800s, so long ago.
Yeah. And another thing is you'd have to draw 6 balls for a walk instead of 4.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so
They made you draw balls in the ground or like what? Like in the dirt?
Nope. But so there was a lot of people in the 3,000 hits club, but when they went back, when they were making this book, this guy went back and refined all these statistics to what we know is now is the basic hit, walk, hit by pitch and everything. He went and refined this, and he knocked a lot of guys out of there to like the 2,000s to 2,995 hits was actually one guy he dropped down to, and he had 3,500.
What a dick move.
Yeah. So, on July 8th of 1918, this is a long story, but I'll get to my point I had. When Babe Ruth was still with the Red Sox, he came to the plate in the 10th inning of a scoreless tie against Cleveland. He faced future Hall of Fame pitcher Stan Kovaleski. Ruth's teammate Amos Strunk was on first base. Ruth crushed a ball over the right field wall to win the game. This is now called a walk-off home run, correct?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
The final score of that game would be 2-0, right?
Okay.
But in 1918, it was ruled a triple, and the final score was 1-0. The thinking was when the game ended the instant that the runner on first hit home plate.
What the hell?
This was before anyone counted home runs and hits in a season and in a career would become a thing. So in 1918, being credited with a triple was almost as good as being credited with a home run, or maybe even better, because they really didn't even keep track of home runs. So
that is super interesting.
So if you think about it this way, if his teammate would have been at third and he hit that home run, it would have only been ruled as a single.
Wow.
That rule was changed in 1920. When the folks at Baseball Encyclopedia went back, they found 37 of these cases that were not counted as home runs. So they brought it to the case of Major League Baseball, and they said, yeah, those are home runs. We should count them. So in all actuality, Babe Ruth had 715 home runs.
Well, I think I'll say it. I think he's officially one of the greatest baseball players of all time. I was on the fence at 714 home runs, but 715 is a whole different monster.
Yeah,
so
it is.
Congrats, babe. You're officially in my Hall of Fame. That's crazy, though.
Isn't that just a wild story?
Like, who sat down and was pouring through this 2,000-page book and was like, holy shit, there's another one.
Therapist.
Yeah, like, this is the same type of dude that if he wasn't into baseball, he'd be like going back to the old Star Trek movies and realizing that they spoke the wrong dialect of Klingon in like the first movie produced in 1975 or whatever it was. Like, just complete nerd, but it's okay because it's baseball. Like, we'll take it.
You also want to know the funny thing about this story is that baseball writers were pissed that
Really?
that they added another home run. And one of these guys, they actually took it to a vote. They said they demanded a vote, and this baseball writer, let me find his name here, Joe Reichler. He was pissed. He worked for the commissioner's office, and he demanded a vote of the Baseball Writers Association, and he twisted some arms and some guys pulled some strings. The vote ended up as a 3-2 against adding the home run. So still technically, Babe Ruth has 714 home runs because they didn't count his walk-off home run in 1918.
Why do you know why they're so adamant about?
Well, I think
Man,
the reason they would say no is because you count the home run as it is a rule in baseball. And when he hit that, it was not a rule that was a home run. It was a rule that the game was over the second he hit home plate, you know?
Yeah.
So I think that's the argument against counting the home run, this is just a total nerd debate.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is the whole Captain Kirk versus the other guy. I don't know. I didn't watch Star Trek, but the other guy in Star Trek that they have those debates about. So we just need some baseball nerds to sit down and really hammer this out until we can get something that everybody can agree on.
Yeah, I definitely think I'm going to go with Babe Ruth hit 715 home runs. By the definition, he hit a home run right there. But they're just so upset that they tried to change history is what everything is. But aren't all traditional baseball guys like that, though? They hate the way that
they don't like
try
anything
to change something. Right. So, I mean, I'm not surprised that it didn't, or that it ended up getting changed back. But it's just an interesting story, I thought. I thought I'd share it. Yeah, let's move on to the NFL. Julian Edelman, this is a big story, came out today. He's popped, suspended 4 games pending approval. There's now a decent list of guys who's been suspended for the first 4 games.
Yeah. I think this is probably something stupid that he got popped for, because he's just coming off an injury, which means he's probably been given medication to help him recover from that injury, and a lot of times those medications end up being on that like banned list of substances, even though they're like prescribed by a doctor, and if anyone else other than an NFL athlete took them, they'd be totally fine, you know? Mm-hmm. So I'm not going to judge until more news comes out about it, whether or not he was trying to cheat. I don't think he was. I think he was just trying to recover, and he took what the doctor gave him. Because I don't know, I just think that's what happened, so I don't know. I think it's stupid. I'd be pissed if I was Jules, or if I was, you know, any Patriots fan, because that sucks that you had him out for all last season, and now he's out for another 4 games for probably something stupid.
Yeah. Toby, what do you think about this? This is your guy.
Last time the NFL suspended a Patriot for the first 4 games, the Patriots won the Super Bowl. So, I mean, we're not worried about it. And Foxborough, it's just next man up, do your job mentality anyway. You've got guys that'll help, you know, fill the void. This probably means we'll get to see Braxton Berrios play a little bit since Amendola's gone. Edelman suspended first 4 games. So we get to see our draft pick from Miami come in and play a little bit, which is pretty exciting because I really liked him in college. But
do you think... Oh, sorry.
No, you go.
Do you think that Bill and Julian will try to sue Roger Goodell again and see if they can do what they did with Brady, you know, extend this for like 12 years?
No. I think they'll just take it, you know. Because, I mean, we played without Edelman last year. The team was fine. 4 games is just the first quarter of the season. Patriots are a second-half team. So, you know, as soon as we get him back, he'll hit the ground running. Hopefully he'll be fired up. I don't think this is damaging for Edelman too much, especially because what you said is it probably is just stupid. You know, nobody remembers Ray Lewis is the guy who used deer antler spray to win himself a Super Bowl. They just remember Ray Lewis is the guy who got away with murder and won a Super Bowl. My bad. Got away with the assist of murder and won a Super Bowl.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. Yeah, but
be careful there.
No, shout out Ray Lewis, just in case you're listening. Please don't come murder me.
Mandatory OTAs started for most clubs. I know I saw Gronk out there with Tom Brady. Gronk shaved his head. Do you think he thought he was going to get hair drug tested, so he shaved his head?
Yes.
That had to be it.
I have an idea of what Gronk was doing in the offseason, and I'm sure he would not like his hair tested.
Right. I think that's the only reason he went bald, is because they're like, hey, they're drug testing guys. And he's like, oh, all right, I'll be fine. And he's like, no, like, with your hair. And he's like, oh. I'm just going to shave it all off.
So and he's like, I am Gronk.
And he said, I don't have any hair, so you can't test it because I don't have any.
You know, Gronk thought that was like a genius decision, too. He was I am cracking the code here. If I cut off all my hair, there's no way they can test me.
Yeah, you'd have to get everywhere, though, because they did this when they drug tested us at Rockhurst, and they would take leg hair, arm hair. Yeah, you know, they would use, like, eyelashes if need be. Like,
dang.
It's crazy, yeah. So, unless he got rid of all body hair, like he's Ryan Shazier, they're going to find a way to test him if that is what he shaved his head for, so...
Speaking of Pennsylvania, you said Ryan Shazier made me think of Pennsylvania. Because I just have a great mind like that, and they can do great segues like this. The Philadelphia Eagles were denied their visit to the White House. And this is now Eagles versus Trump. We'll probably see WrestleMania.
I wouldn't invite them to my house either. Fuck the Eagles.
Passionate.
I'm not taking a political stance. I just hate them.
That's fine.
I also do not like the Eagles. I thought it was interesting. They said they held a silent team vote about guys who wanted to go. They said like a handful of guys wanted to go.
Yeah.
The
mascot was in, though.
I heard one of the guys that was in was Nick Foles. And I don't know. I would like to see Nick Foles just hang out with Donald Trump for like one day and just see like what they would talk about, because Nick Foles seems like one of the more uninteresting guys in the NFL, and like if they just got to hang out one-on-one, like, yeah, so we're all your friends, he's like, no, it's just me, like, you know, the Dynamite voice, it's like, it's just me, like, oh, that'd make for some great social media interaction. So
I'm sure Nick would just draw the Philly special on a napkin like 400 times and try to explain to Donald Trump how it all works.
Yeah, I don't know. The Eagles they're cocky now. They won themselves one, and now the players, the fan base, they are really cocky now. Like Malcolm Jenkins just holding up signs during that press conference. Like,
yeah,
it's activist work. I get what he's doing. And, like, kudos to him for protesting if he feels that's right. But they've got some cocky guys. I don't know in the past how coming out of president would have gone down for a lot of these NFL teams, but damn it, they're going for it. And the national birds, no less.
I hate cocky Philadelphians. Like, this whole year has been just a crap year because of how happy people in Philadelphia have been, and it's been ruining my mood, to be honest. Like, I'm sick of it. They need to be taken down a peg.
You know what I thought was funny? I don't want to really get into the politics of all this, but an all-time petty move by Donald Trump to hear that, like, only a handful of people were coming and saying, no, you're not coming anymore, and instead we're just going to sing the national anthem.
It's like in The Office when that guy Tony in the merger quit on the first day. Yeah. Michael was like, well, you can't quit. You're fired.
And they're like, Michael, why did you fire him? Now we have to give him a
severance package.
That's pretty much exactly what happened.
The exact same.
Yeah.
And we all saw the video of Trump trying to sing "God Bless America," correct?
He's like, he said "God bless America" every time it came around, but then he just was like, nothing.
It's like when you're singing a car, or when you're singing a song in the car with like your friends, and you don't know all the words, but you know like the first words of the refrain, so you sing that part like super loud, so everyone's like, oh, he knows the song, and then you just kind of mumble the rest, so they're like, oh, he must just be tired or something.
Yeah, then when the chorus comes back around, you have to belt that puppy
belt it
out.
out. Yeah.
Let's move on.
Man's got to learn the songs. Like, he can't be all of them.
What was that? Was it the national anthem he was trying to sing too?
Yes, there's the national anthem of the national championship game.
Yes.
Dude just got to stay away from football.
I was about to say the exact same thing. It just doesn't work out well for him when he tries to get in the middle of football.
Yeah.
Jeez. Well, we'll still keep talking about football. Let's move on to some college QBs getting drafted in the MLB draft. Kyler Murray getting drafted by the A's. He got drafted high, too. He's going to get that bread if he chooses to go to the MLB. And Shea Patterson also got drafted into the MLB. I'm not really sure where he got picked, though.
If I'm Kyler Murray, I'm signing that contract so fast just to get the hell out of Oklahoma. That's such a step up for him.
Well, I don't even know if he's guaranteed like the starting spot. I know he's like the preferred starting quarterback, but I think there's still like a contest for it.
Yeah, and he would have to live in Oklahoma. It would suck.
Yeah, but let me check what the rookie ball affiliate is for the A's. Toby, what do you think about this whole situation?
So there was a thread going around on Twitter today, and yes, I got on Twitter. There's a thread going around today. So this is really cool what Kyler Murray is about to do. So he was drafted 9th overall, which means that he was a top 10 pick, which means he's going to get a decent chunk of change, even just playing minor league ball. So what he can do is he can sign a contract with this Oakland A's affiliate. It can say, we're going to grant him, the ability to play football in college, play this year with Oklahoma, which is within NCAA guidelines to be professional in a separate sport, but go back and play a collegiate sport if you have eligibility remaining. So he's going to be getting paid to play minor league baseball while quarterbacking at Oklahoma. So he is actually going to be making money while playing football in college. Really cool what is going on there. This is a big win for not all college athletes, but college athletes who are seeking compensation for playing. This is a win, as long as a great baseball player who is also playing another sport. Very doable. So I'm for sure going to teach my kid to be a baseball player first. Be like, yeah, go play football too. Then he's getting paid in college. I'm taking that money from him, and I'm living good well into my 60s. This is dope.
I think the key is to make him a quarterback and a pitcher and just really get that arm strong. Because you never hear of, like, an MLB team drafting, like, an offensive tackle or something, They're always looking for the arm for the quarterback.
Right. Kyler Murray actually plays in center field.
Still got an arm.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, he does.
So I looked up the athletics affiliates of Vermont Lake Monsters. What a cool team name.
Great
Season.
team name.
Yeah.
Much better than Oklahoma.
Yeah. And Vermont, it's kind of cool in the fall. It looks cool. It's got a lot of maple syrup.
Oh, I was about to say the same thing. So much maple candy, maple donuts, maple syrup. You're living well up in Vermont.
All right, Kyler Murray. We are officially Get Kyler Murray to the Vermont Lake Monsters podcast. We will start our campaign tomorrow to get Kyler Murray to the Vermont Lake Monsters. Or if he goes up, that's just the short season A class. He'd go to Beloit, Wisconsin to be with the Beloit Snappers, Class A minor league affiliate.
I really want Shea Patterson to go play MLB right now and play Michigan. Because we have to play them at Michigan, and I'd really rather him be there.
He's drafted by the Rangers.
I thought Toby would have a reaction to that, but...
No, I mean, you guys should be worried, for sure. But drafted 169 overall.
Nice.
Which, very nice. To play third base, too. Another strong arm, throwing cross diamond, But he's a little different from Kyler Murray in that Kyler Murray is going to be a good college quarterback, but there's not a whole lot of NFL teams looking at him as the quarterback of the future. Shea Patterson, on the other hand, is a guy who could go first round of the NFL draft, probably will go first round of the NFL draft next year, along with guys like Drew Lock and Justin Herbert from Oregon as quarterbacks. So Shea Patterson, I believe, has more of a decision to make than Kyler Murray even does. Because I think Kyler Murray, you drafted 9th overall, you've got to go play baseball.
Mm-hmm.
Longer career, more likely of you to have a career in that sport. I just think, a little bit different between the two guys. But it is interesting to see these MLB teams take chances on these football guys, knowing that they play a very dangerous, violent sport and could get hurt potentially during the season, but still risking, their picks and pretty high picks on these guys.
Long story short, Shea Patterson, forget about football. Just go focus on baseball right now. They'll be fine without you.
Last report out of Michigan is Shea Patterson is thankful for his MLB pick, but he's focused on football.
Well, that'll change. Hopefully.
Before we wrap up today's show, we'll talk about NCAA Super Regionals. I blogged about it. I actually gave a recap of what every team went through during the regional and a little prediction for each Super Regional. We'll be in Omaha 1 week from when we're recording this, so Friday, the 15th is when we'll be in Omaha. Let's do a live show down there in Omaha. How about we do that?
I'm down. Yeah.
We'll do a live show, and we'll talk about what is going on down there at the College World Series. One of these Super Regionals I really got my eye on here is Florida versus Auburn, SEC versus SEC series. Game 1 starter was announced. Brady Singer, Kansas City Royal versus Casey Mize, number 1 overall draft pick. So that is going to be a humdinger, is what the kids call it these days, I think. And
Hootenanny.
Yeah, I'm excited to see that series unfold right there. Now, I believe Florida beat them 2-3 in their regular season series. I don't see that being any different. Florida is a solid ball club. They won the national championship last year. They had 3 of the top 20 prospects, even though Singer, the top prospect that they had from Florida, fell all the way to 18 for the Royals. Jonathan India still went 5, but Jackson Cower going to the Royals at 33, which was both of those picks exactly who I wanted. So I couldn't be happier with the Royals draft. Any of these Super Regionals either you fellas got your eye on?
North Carolina Stetson, because Stetson and Tennessee Tech right now are my 2 obscure teams I'm wanting to make it in. I always pick one obscure team to cheer for the rest of the series, and right now I got my eyes on Stetson and Tennessee Tech. So I would love to see Tennessee Tech beat Texas because I hate Texas. So that's like a double whammy for me.
Right.
But also Stetson, the Hatters.
Oh,
that's
yeah.
a dope name. That's a dope name. So I would love to get some Stetson gear up in my house.
Oh, so would I. If they make it. I declared that they were my team, remember?
I do remember that.
You can come on with me. I'm not saying you can't join us.
No,
But
we'll even welcome Toby, even though he's probably not too happy with him right now after beating Oklahoma State.
mollywopped him.
I have no idea who I'm cheering for now. I do know this, though. There's one series that I'm really looking forward to. It's in the Northwest, and it's Beavers versus Gophers. The age-old question, who would win in a fight between a Beaver and a Gopher? We're about to find out Oregon State, Minnesota. Minnesota, a team that has really never been in the spot. In fact, I think this is their first Super Regional.
It's their first one, yep.
And Oregon State, this was interesting because I was thinking about this today at work. You know how I get bored stalking shit, high V. So I was thinking about this today at work. Last year, we went there. Oregon State was the number 1 overall seed.
Yeah.
The number 3 overall seed in the nation, Florida, won the whole thing. This year, it's the exact opposite. Florida, number 1 overall seed. Oregon State, the number 3 overall seed. Could this potentially be Oregon State's year? We'll see. I'm kind of cheering for the Gophers in this one, namely because I think in a real fight, Beavers would win, and I like to see the underdog animal win in a fight sometimes, so I think that one is definitely one worth watching. Another one, Cal State Fullerton and Washington. These are 2 3 seeds that advance from their regional. And Washington is another team that I really hope does well because they beat my fifth favorite team in the whole thing, the Connecticut Huskies, as well as my second favorite team, LIU Brooklyn Blackbirds. So let's go Washington, I guess.
I want to go back to... Oh, real quick, I want to say something.
Yeah, go ahead.
I want to go back to the Oregon State-Minnesota matchup. I want Oregon State to win this so bad because I don't hate Minnesota University. Like, I always said, they're kind of our rivals it's like a friendly rivalry, but their baseball coach is just being a whiny little bitch about baseball lately, and I'm not having it. He's trying to go all Civil War on us and split up into the Northern College World Series and the Southern College World Series because the South is warm all year and they can play more baseball. Like, whatever. Like, that's just how it goes, Recruit better players if that's what you're... I don't know. He was pissing me off. Typical millennial out there trying to get his way with everything.
If Minnesota does make it to the College World Series, you bet your bottom dollar I'm bringing my Row the Boat shirt.
You have to. That's the only thing.
Yeah. But to touch on Stetson, they have an 18-game winning streak coming into this. North Carolina has a 16-game home winning streak, and North Carolina is hosting this Super Regional, so one of those things has got to give.
Yep, that's the first game tomorrow, too. Super excited about that one. But I also want to piggyback off one of Shane's teams, Tennessee Tech, led the nation in not just home runs, but batting average. Not very often you see a team with a whole bunch of power leading and batting average as well. So just by far and away, the best hitting team in the country is Tennessee Tech. They upset the 4th overall seed, the Mississippi Rebels, in their place.
They whooped them.
Yeah, that's a super fun team. I assume we all watched a lot of that. I know Tucker did.
Oh, yeah.
That's a really, really fun team to watch. And it would be a blast to see them go to Omaha because they are a ton of fun to watch.
Any final thoughts, fellas?
Yeah, I've got one. RIP to my motivation to do anything else outside of football for the rest of basically till November because high school football's back. We just started this week with the summer practices and things like that. So if you're wondering why I'm not texting you back or answering your phone calls, it's because my mind is elsewhere, either watching film or
Toby, what do you got?
We don't talk about it very much on the show, but the World Cup starts 1 week from tonight when we're filming this on Thursday, actually. And I've said that I'm a soccer fan, but this is really going to test it because these games are starting at fucking 7 a.m. here. And I don't know if I want to wake up at 7 a.m. to watch a goalless draw. So, and the United States also not in it this year. So these teams better be doing some crazy ass shit. I better see flares on the field. I better see riots from Russian fans in the streets. Because if I'm going to wake up at 7 a.m. to watch these games, there better be some excitement.
My final thought, it's not a podcast if I don't mention Vladimir Guerrero Jr. The 19-year-old phenom was placed on the 7-day disabled list. This was after him not being named to the Pipeline Team of the Week last week. So, thoughts and prayers, T's and P's to Vladimir Guerrero for a speedy 7-day recovery.
Oh, I have one last thing as well. I'm glad you brought it up, minor league baseball. Shout out to Trey Vickers, Luke Ritter, both got drafted into the MLB Draft, former Rockers Talklets. So, congrats to those guys for getting drafted. Yeah.
Shane, didn't you know the 3rd overall pick?
I did. Shout out to Alec Boehm, former Scott Catholic Skyhawk for a hot minute, and then Ron Colley, Crimson Pride. Omaha is super proud of this kid. Great athlete all around. Excited to see what he does, except for the fact that he's going to be in Philly. but I guess I'll get over it. So go make that money.
Aren't people getting on Darren Ernstad about all these Nebraska kids that are getting drafted from colleges outside of Nebraska? Yeah.
He doesn't recruit in-state, and a lot of people are like, well, all these in-state kids are going to the MLB, so maybe you should start recruiting in-state. You moron.
Yeah. I remember watching the kid from A&M from Omaha last the College World Series, and that was a big story there. Probably wish...
And a kid from TCU a couple years ago.
Probably wish the Huskers had him. Toe to Omaha.
Yep. Nah.
Hashtag Omahats.
Omahats.
No, Diamond Heels. I've decided it. I'm cheering for North Carolina now.
All right, that's fun.
Because all the other teams I'm cheering for in this tournament have already been eliminated, so...
I want to see Stetson. I really do. I want to get a Stetson Hatters hat.
Tennessee Tech, I want to see bombs. Bomb after bomb after bomb.
Agreed.
That's fair. For the boys, -1, Toby Todd and Shane Miller, I'm Tucker Franklin. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Nosebleed Radio. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at NosebleedSnow. Like us on Facebook, Nosebleed Knowledge. We'll see you guys later. Thanks for listening.